Good morning. We're here with your midweek dose of Ireland Day, and we're your medicine. Is that what it is, or we're just a bunch of doses?
No, just a pair of doses.
There we go.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, the 12th of April. There's lots on the way over the next 3 hours.
There certainly is. The American president officially touched down in Belfast late last night. Did everyone see him being like, is he going to be okay walking off Air Force One? Is he all right? From security concerns to a tourism boost for small towns. We have all the details on Joe Biden's whistle-stop tour around the island.
I loved a reporter in Belfast last night said he's here for 17 hours and he'll be in bed in his hotel for most of it. I love it.
Joe, you sleep. We're proud to have you sleeping here.
Yeah, we're proud to have you here.
And let's just see if you get yourself your own Barack Obama Plaza.
There we
Biden
go.
Plaza. Is that what we need?
Now, later on, we're going to meet the woman who took on the tabloids to put an end to the tradition of topless models on page 3.
And from page 3 to a three-way relationship.
A triple.
No. We'll be finding out why one married couple decided to become a throuple.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I really am.
I'm
Should
looking
we do
forward
it every
to
day?
that. I'm telling you, we're a triple every day. And we're a triple with Katya this morning. Good morning, Katya. Welcome to our triple.
Morning.
Makes us sound so interesting and steamy. Well, from dressing to express to dopamine dressing, we discover the psychology of fashion. In the kitchen, we turn Easter egg leftovers into a delicious dessert, plus a date night activity with a difference. Axe throwing. That's something exciting for our new throuple. Maybe we should go axe throwing later.
I genuinely think if you suggest to your boyfriend, I want to go axe throwing, he needs to get out. Get out, my friend. Get out.
But what if you decide? What if the lady decides they want to go axe throwing?
I just said that. If I decide to go axe throwing and I'm like, Phil, come on, let's go axe throwing. He's like, I'm okay, babe. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Well, what's wrong with it?
I'd just be a bit worried.
Oh, well, I think it's now.
The frustration. Derek, he is soaking up the atmosphere in the wee county ahead of Joe Biden's visit there. We're all Joe all the time. Good morning, Derek.
Yes, we're in great excitement up here in Carlingford in County Louth ahead of the visit of Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States of America. Now, he landed in late last night into Belfast City International at about 9:20, stayed overnight before he has a morning engagement at Ulster University this morning, and then heading down here to the Cooley Peninsula. Now, weather-wise, hopefully it should play ball. A bit of a rocky one out there at the moment because we do have that status orange wind warning for Cork and Kerry till 8, and a system of rain feeding up across the country. So fingers crossed for later on that it will hold dry for Joe Biden here in Carlingford. We're going to be catching up with some of the locals here on the ground. As I said, big excitement with Joe Biden due to visit here later on this Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Derek. And it's a beautiful little town, Carlingford.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So hopefully the rain will stay away. But now let's go up to the Virgin Media News. So here's Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. Well, the US President will be meeting with the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in Belfast this morning as Joe Biden's 4-day visit to the island of Ireland gets underway. Well, Biden will also be attending an event in the city before travelling south to Dublin and then on to Louth later today. Marie Mulcahy has the details.
Air Force One touched down in Belfast last night, marking the start of US President Joe Biden's 4-day visit to the island of Ireland. The 46th President of the US was met on arrival by the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. He stayed in Belfast overnight and is due at the city's Ulster University campus this afternoon, after which he'll travel to Dublin. Then the entourage is set to go to County Louth, where Mr Biden has ancestral links. There he's due to be given a tour of Carlingford Castle. It's back to Dublin tonight ahead of a busy day of engagements in the city tomorrow. The Phoenix Park is being closed to the public as Mr Biden makes a courtesy call on President Michael D. Higgins at Áras an Uachtaráin and meets with Taoiseach Leo Varadkar at Farmley. Tomorrow evening he'll address both houses of the Oireachtas before attending a state banquet at Dublin Castle. On Friday, Joe Biden heads west. He's due to travel to Knock Shrine, where he'll be given a tour, and later on Friday he'll visit Ballina, where he has more ancestral links. Mr Biden will deliver an address at the cathedral in the town before his visit comes to an end late on Friday evening. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
Well, as we heard, the US President is travelling to Louth later today, where he will be having a walkabout as well in Dundalk. Our reporter Paul Quinn is there ahead of his arrival with the details.
Well, we're here in Dundalk where later today President Joe Biden will do a walkabout here in the town, and large crowds are expected to come out to try and catch a glimpse of the President. Of course, before that he'll travel to Carlingford on the Cooley Peninsula, where he's due to visit Carlingford Castle and take a tour there. He's also expected to visit the grave of his ancestors where they're buried. Of course, his great-grandfather James Finnegan was born on the Cooley Peninsula. Security is extremely tight around this visit. In recent days, Gardaí, members of the army have been carrying out searches in various locations as well. Gardaí also warning of rolling road closures in many areas and urging people who perhaps want to come to Louth to try and catch a glimpse of the President to give themselves plenty of time to do that. Of course, the other big issue that people will have to contend with today is the weather. Weather warnings in place until later on this evening, and that could impact the number of people who come out and about. When the President is done here in Dundalk later on this evening, he'll travel to Dublin ahead of a full day of events tomorrow, which include meeting President Michael D. Higgins and addressing the joint houses of the Oireachtas.
Well, an orange wind warning is in place in counties Cork and Kerry this morning until 8 a.m. Met Éireann is warning of stormy weather in the south with damaging gusts in excess of up to 110 kilometres an hour. There's also a yellow wind alert in place for the rest of the country with gusts of up to 110 kilometres an hour forecast for parts. And New Zealand's Wellington Zoo has welcomed its two newest arrivals. The two snow leopards came from Melbourne Zoo, where they were born through a breeding programme. There are no more than 7,000 snow leopards left in the wild due to habitat loss and poaching.
Ireland scrum coach Denise Fogarty has hailed the women's side as a special group. Ireland are looking for their first Six Nations win this year when they face Italy on Saturday.
After a much-needed Six Nations rest week, a trip to Parma to face Italy is on the horizon. Heavy defeats to Wales and France in the opening weeks of the tournament left Ireland licking their wounds. But a mental and physical break has left them raring to go for the week ahead.
They really are great to be around, you know, even from my own point of view. I get energised working with them, you know. Like there's no doubt they're hurting. You know, but to show that resilience they have, to come in there and be all ready to go and full of energy and ready to get something out of this Italian game. So it's there's no doubt about it. They're a special group with some really good leaders in it.
Small improvements from their opening two games are what Ireland are after. The players know, though, success won't be achieved overnight.
I think for us, we know we're on a journey and we want to grow as a group and get better. And you can see from the Welsh performance to the French performance, we are growing. And even coming in on Monday, the hunger's there. You know, we're keen and we had some scrums and mauls this morning and the forwards going all at each other. And it's really nice to see that we're really thriving in that competitive environment, and we've really built on it and we'll continue to do so and keep going up.
Ready to go again ahead of the Italian job on Saturday. Anne-Marie Keegan, Virgin Media Sport.
Finally, Rhys McClenaghan has qualified in first place for the pommel horse final at the European Artistic Gymnastics Championships in Turkey. That's your sport for now. We'll have more for you at 7:30. Now, what's the weather like out there this morning? Here's Derek.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you, Ger, and a very good morning. We're coming to you live here from Carlingford in County Louth, the ancestral home of Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States of America, due to land down here across the Cooley Peninsula later on this afternoon. So we're going to be giving you a little bit of a flavour of the build-up as we meet some locals here in the town a little bit later on this morning. Anyway, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Conor Doyle with us on cameras, and I have to say quite a windy one out there at the moment. We have that status orange wind warning now in place for Cork and Kerry, a status yellow for the rest of the country until 8 o'clock this morning. So another 50 minutes or so to go until that is lifted. So we're looking at some severe and damaging gusts pushing through, especially around coastal regions. So please do take extra care, especially through Cork and Kerry now over the next couple of hours. Coupled with that, we do have that system of rain being pushed up across the island, bringing with it some heavy spills through parts of Munster, southern Connacht, the Midlands and into southern Leinster. We're just about holding drier and brighter here in County Louth at the moment. Now, right across the day, it looks like any morning sunshine will slip, so do enjoy it if you're getting it, because we're going to see that system of rain move bit by bit, edge in a northerly direction up across the country. So lots of wet, lots of windy weather to come, and in fact we could see some hail and thunderstorm activity embedded for good measure as well. Top temps of around 6 to 11 degrees. And finally then tonight, it looks like that mixture of scattered showers and clear spells. Those winds easing off, but still another wet, another windy night to start, but improving then as we work our way into tomorrow morning, with values back to about 1 to 6 degrees. So that's how we're shaping up here in a sunny Carlingford in County Louth at the moment. We'll be back again live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The quote devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Now, there's lots more still to come this hour. We're going to look ahead to Joe Biden's jam-packed itinerary for the next 4 days. He's probably in bed in Belfast. Good morning, Mr. President. How are you? You're watching?
He's only been here, what, 10 hours?
Yeah.
Joe. This is the Joe Show. The Joe Show is back. It's not. We've got loads more coming up. Plus, Tupperware has warned that it may go out of business.
No more Tupperware parties.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did you ever have a Tupperware party? Let us know. I'm sure there's lots of people watching who had a Tupperware party. Did your mum ever have a Tupperware party?
I don't think so, no.
No.
I don't
Did
think so. Yeah, sure. Loads of times, because I cook so much.
Lingerie party.
We'll have the full story after this. What is going on with you this morning? Joe has you riled up. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM. Back to Ireland AM. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Biden to stress benefits of Belfast Agreement in keynote address. The American president is expected to hail the tremendous progress since the Belfast Agreement was signed and emphasise Washington's readiness to preserve those gains made in Northern Ireland.
Biden touches down with pledge of cash to end Brexit standoff. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. President Biden will promise fresh economic support for Northern Ireland today on the condition there is restoration of power sharing at Stormont.
The Star's front page, Joe Brawley. They also mentioned President Biden arrived in Ireland last night and was greeted with wind and rain for the start of his historic and very Irish visit.
The Examiner leads with Biden begins historic Ireland visit.
There we go is the top story on the Mirror today.
And the Sun leads with taken away too young. Lucas Joyce and Kirsty Bowen, both 14, were killed when the vehicle they were in with two friends hit a tree outside Headford, County Galway.
The Irish Daily Mail leads with fears that online dare led to crash that killed teenagers. A Garda investigation will examine if a social media challenge played a role in the horrific Galway road crash that took the lives of Lucas Joyce and Kirsty Bowen.
The Herald goes with no for the juggler. Ireland's tourism and arts sectors have been kicked in the balls, that's the juggling kind, after the biggest juggling convention in the world pulled out of staging its event over issues securing insurance cover.
Lorcan Nyhan. Do you want to talk about juggling today? Hello, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you. Lorcan Nyhan from the Communications Clinic. We're going to start a story with, for a lot of people who watched Dope on Disney, you know, during the thing, we're all sitting there watching the Sattler family with the opioid epidemic in the US. We've got our own little epidemic going on in Ireland, and it's called the SALPs. The Salpidines.
The Salpidines.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you look at these things and, you know, people say things are uniquely Irish and then they're not really, you know, like, no, everybody loves crisps and we think they're uniquely Irish. There seems to be something uniquely Irish about our love of codeine-based painkillers and Salpidine, and that, bar the South Africans, we are the ones who purchase and use
the biggest
consumers of them, obviously per capita, bar the South Africans. So it is a relatively uniquely Irish thing. It is something that is big here, and there have been calls to move it to prescription only because of that overuse and because we are such big consumers of it. There's been calls to move it so that you have to have a prescription to get Salpidine or Norphin Plus or something similar.
There is going to be a lot of people watching in this morning going, what? We spend substantially more than consumers in 30 other countries on Salpidine and Nurofen Plus.
Yeah, and so countries like Estonia, like France, like New Zealand have moved to the prescription-only model. Australia in about 2017, 2018, and it has seen the harm reduced, and obviously the amount that's been purchased reduced down. So that's what's being called for. As I said, there are people who obviously, if you're used to using it, if that's what you use when you have your headache for whatever reason, that's obviously going to come as
your headache, you just kind
news.
of have to go in, to the person with all your period products and go, please, can I have some Solpadeine? And they're like, okay, I think the person needs
because
some
they
Solpadeine.
do quiz you at the counter if you're trying to buy Solpadeine. They're quizzing you. It's like you're trying to buy something illegal or something like that.
They're for guidelines that were brought in, and look, Primetime Investigates did do kind of an undercover thing with pharmacies a while ago, where they sent people in and recorded to see if the questions were being asked, and they weren't always being asked, or the whole checklist wasn't always being gone through.
Sometimes you just have to look in a woman's face and be like, oh my God.
You need this
Give the woman the Solpadeine. Not just women. I know men need it as well. But over 2.4 million packets of Solpadeine were sold in Ireland in 2021.
4.53 million.
And when you...
4.53 million packs in 2021.
That's what happened.
That's of Nurofen Plus and Solpadeine and all of them together.
It's when you start looking at things and think, well, look, if there's a medical need, why don't they just move to prescription? What's the block, or why isn't it happening? And as always, the case normally tends to be money, in that if so much of it is sold, and so much of it is sold, there's lots of people making money out of it, and therefore it would be seen as something that might be pushed back against. And so, in documents from the Department of Health that we're seeing, there is an idea of approaching next steps with caution, because we're a big market and there are pharmacies.
A big market. Second biggest consumers of Solpadeine in the world. We'd love to know what you make of that, because I know it was a big thing when you had to go up and actually ask for them over the counter. People were like, sorry, excuse me, 0896 111 111 Solpadeine. And of course, they are a dangerous drug. They are a very addictive drug. We'll move on to the GDP. So Germany and Britain, they've contracted, technically sort of in recession, but we're going okay.
We're flying, according to the
country.
IMF projections. We're going to go 5.6% is what the IMF have targeted for us. So absolutely nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. That's the headline, 5.6%. We're doing well. Let's ignore the fact that they said we might be entering into a perilous phase for the global economy. Let's ignore the fact that they said there's a 1 in 4 chance of moving into into a real slowdown of output and growth, which is basically a global recession. So there's a 1 in 4 chance of that.
But obviously that will affect
the banks keep
that will affect us.
It will, of course. Look, it looks like we're entering into a slowdown globally at the very, very least. It is a good news story, and look, we've had enough times that we've been talking about bad news stories, and there's loads of them, in that we're doing well, and we're probably well placed to enter into a recession in a strong position, which is rare for us. No, I'm okay. Entering into for a strong position, which is rare for us. Normally, there's a global recession and we get hammered and we're really weak, and therefore we're the worst performers. So we might be entering into it strongly. But look, we all know how open we are. How open we are to the global banking sector, how open we are to global markets. So if Germany are contracting by 0.1%, the Brits are going to be the slowest major economy in the world.
Which was forecast because of Brexit for quite a while.
Absolutely, but still, they still link with the chart and say, Russia growing stronger than them, even with all the sanctions on Russia for the situation. So it's not good news for the Brits in particular, but it's not good news really for anybody. We are strong, but in stormy waters. So, and we're still a small boat.
Solpadeine sales. Done, lads. Just keeping it going. It's absolutely amazing. For the GDP.
I tell you, the pharmacies are raking it in. Now, as someone who's not raking it in, we might be seeing the end of Tupperware.
Yeah, all those Tupperware parties that definitely happened, that we're all definitely aware of.
I think there's so many people watching in this morning who understand what a Tupperware party was. You were going, was it a Dublin thing?
No, hold on. I understand what it is. I've heard it on America. Myself and Lorcan were talking about this. Heard it on Bewitched. You know, Samantha might have a Tupperware party. Yeah. I've never heard that anyone in Ireland had a Tupperware party, but you were saying...
Did you actually have a Tupperware party? Let us know. Let Muireann know, and I guarantee you will get lots of people who've had Tupperware parties.
It was like the old book clubs. It's obviously the version of the book club. What's going on with Tupperware? What is it? What are these parties? It's starting to sound a bit dirty.
They may go out of business, is the headline, in that the sales have slowed down to the point that... They're worried to go to business. Their share has absolutely plummeted, so they're worried that Tupperware will be no more. My main knowledge of Tupperware is twofold. Number one is that this fella invented the plastic for Tupperware, had no idea what to do with it, then thought maybe he can turn it into this thing. Nobody wanted to buy it, and then he fell upon this idea of one salesperson came up with the idea of the Tupperware parties, and then they absolutely skyrocketed. Yeah. So they're an absolute accident. And also, and I only know now, that it was founded by a guy called Earl Tupper. I absolutely love when you find out the name of something. It's just like a guy said, do you know know what, I've invented this thing. I'm going to call it after myself. And so they're the two. So it would be a shame for the Tuppers across the world if their name was taken off a big product.
Also, it is meant to be sustainable, so you can understand. It's meant to be reusable.
Yeah, you're supposed to have it for years and years and years.
And over again.
But I just don't think young people are buying it. It's the way
we've got loads of it. I'm not young, but you have to have it. Like I think loads of people have Tupperware. But you don't buy it. You buy loads. Like you buy it and then you have it for years.
Lunch boxes and stuff like that.
You can't buy houses anymore, so you waste all your money on lunches.
An avocado.
You don't need to bring in a lunch with you because you're throwing 20 quid away.
0896 111
God, I love it. Did you ever have a Tupperware party?
Now, this is the story that I just love this one so much. The work ick. What is the work ick, Lorcan Nyhan?
It is the things that your colleagues do that drive you absolutely up the wall and just make you cringe and, that kind of physical feeling.
So it used to be a feeling that we had in relation to going out on dates and someone that you were shifting, but now it's what happens at work.
Work with a colleague.
So explain what a work ick could be.
Well, according to a piece in the Times, we're looking at things which I thought was bizarre, which is don't leave your used gym gear drying on a radiator.
In work. Don't microwave fish.
Yeah.
Who microwaves fish in work?
Oh, I worked in an office and I love this person dearly. She is a fantastic person, but my God, twice a week fish in the office and everyone would be like
she'd
gagging.
microwave the fish in the office.
Yeah. And we worked in a different part of the office and everyone would just end up migrating down there. It was gross.
I imagine it's getting worse because people's bad habits probably got worse at home when there's nobody around, and then also if you're in the office when you were at home, you're now looking saying, I could be at home and instead I have to, look at your socks on the radiator or half-filled mugs of coffee left over, which I do, to be fair. So when you read through this list, you think, who could do that? Who could do that? Oh, no.
I do that one.
Yeah,
do that
4
one.
and 5 with me. So.
Or another one which I love, it's not as good as the good old days. Remember here years ago before Mirren was on the show, it was much better.
That's what he does all the time. Back in proper days.
We were having Tupperware parties every night.
Remember the day...
Popping the codeine, having a ball. Having a ball. I know that codeine addiction is a real thing. No. We'd love to know your ex, by the way, because I know someone who used to have floss at their desk.
And what do they do with it then? Just
throw it in the bin? Flying all over the place.
Oh, stop.
We'd love to know your ex. 0896 111 your work ex, something that your colleague does that really, really annoys you. Thank you so much. Lorcan Nyhan from Communications Clinic, you're staying with us.
Yeah, you're going to stay with us because up next we have all you need to know about Joe Biden's arrival in Belfast last night and his visit to Ireland. See you in a few minutes.
Now, we all know that Joe Biden is here. He begins his trip in Ireland. But what is the point of him being here? Because a full itinerary awaits the US president.
Yes, Belfast was the first stop last night. And joining us to discuss is Belfast-based journalist Amanda Ferguson, and Lorcan has stayed with us. Good morning to you, Amanda. Thank you for joining us this morning. So, a short visit to Northern Ireland. So, what's on the agenda today?
Yes, I think that the visit north of the border is a lot shorter than it would have been, but we don't have government at the moment, and I think that's been a complicating factor. So, of course, President Biden touched down last night just after 9:15, and then the Beast, as it's known, transported him to the Grand Central Hotel in Belfast city centre, where he was greeted by some well-wishers. Today, he is going to be opening the Belfast campus of Ulster University, so that's in the Cathedral Quarter, which a lot of your viewers will know has some of the best pubs, and I don't think he's going to be going there for a Guinness Zero. He's just going to be talking to students and business leaders, and then the leaders of the 5 main parties at Stormont who are eligible to form government will be in the mix there as well. However, I think there's quite a minimised role. It may just be a case of a grip and grin photograph and not really too much substance. There isn't going to be a roundtable meeting with the politicians, certainly not one that's planned anyway. And I think a few eyebrows have been raised that the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak isn't going to be attending that speech. That's his sort of keynote speech. There'll be a focus on peace and prosperity and the economy. And I don't think it was a surprise that the first images of the president arriving in Belfast included the new economic envoy, Joe Kennedy. He'll be hanging around once the president crosses the border. We have that big economic conference and focus on the Good Friday Agreement next week up at Queen's.
So with all of this happening, and you mentioned when he came in there, Rishi Sunak. So we know that there has been a fractious relationship between Joe Biden and whichever leader of the UK government there has been. Meetings were cancelled with Liz Truss, with Russia at the start. There seems to have been a little bit of secrecy around what's going to be discussed between them. So what do we know about this visit with Rishi Sunak?
We know that...
Sorry, Amanda. We'll be back with you in 1 second. Just asking Lorcan here.
Look, we know that it's actually been downgraded. So it's been downgraded from what they would see as a full bilateral to what's been called in America in the press of a bilatte, and that it's now just a cup of coffee to discuss. So Rishi Sunak kind of stole a march a little bit on the Irish government by making the invite, because the visit was always going to happen. He got the invite. He's now welcome off the plane. But it has been stepped back because I don't think there's going to be anything serious discussed in terms of Northern Ireland during this visit. It's going to be reiterating that the Windsor Agreement is Biden backs it, that he thinks that is the solution, that Stormont should be brought back up. But other than that, I don't think there's going to be anything. They're not going to be pushing the narrative further by any way. So I think a longer meeting with Rishi Sunak would be seen as pushing a narrative that they actually don't want there.
That isn't there. Amanda, can we talk to you there? Where on some of the papers here this morning, it was saying that in his speech later on, he will pledge more support, economic support for Northern Ireland if there is restoration on power sharing. Does this put pressure on Jeffrey Donaldson and the DUP?
Not particularly. The DUP has made very clear that it's not going to be pressured back to government by anyone, including a US president. And because there can be a perception among some unionists that perhaps because of Joe Biden's strong Irish identity that he sometimes favours nationalist views and viewpoints over unionists. I don't think that that's going to be something that gets Stormont back up and running overnight. And also we have local government elections coming up in the north in May. So all of that is in the mix as well. I just think that the nature of the visit north would have been much more expansive if a government had been in place. I think that the optics of the Prime Minister not being there is something interesting. And of course, because the Prime Minister isn't there, then the Taoiseach can't be there. So I think that there's a lot going on in the background that perhaps hasn't been reported quite yet.
And Amanda, just in relation to that, how is this being perceived by people in the north? Because obviously we've seen those terrible images from Derry about what's going on with Republicans kind of attacking the PSNI when they've been out. We've got no sitting First Ministers. We've been waiting for Stormont to come back for so long now, and obviously that is so important to the Good Friday Agreement. So what is this telling the people of the north?
Well, I think that a lot of people would view perhaps a missed opportunity in Biden being here for such a short period of time. Of course, the violence from anti-peace protest Republicans on Easter Monday is a very serious matter. However, it has to be put into context that it's one place, one street, one set of incidents. And I think a lot of people are just frustrated that that's one of the images that's been sort of beamed around the world as President Biden arrived. And of course, the discomfort of not having government as well. But I think it's important as we're marking the Good Friday Agreement anniversary that we do focus on what we've done well, but also where we have failed. And perhaps some of that violence is a manifestation of the disaffection among young people and the serious issues that still face society in the north. But, you could point to camera dysfunction in any jurisdiction, including south of the border. So I think that a lot of people are really excited for the president to be here. Other people are sort of not fussed or bothered. And then there's been a little bit of suspicion or disquiet amongst others. I think it's the same with any jurisdiction. Some people will be really excited about the theatre and the drama of the motorcade and of the presence and the global media being here. But I suppose it really depends who you ask. Yeah, exactly. And probably the same down south here as well. And Lorcan, for the Irish government, the big set pieces are tomorrow here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Louth straight after the visit today, and then the move to Dublin. So the big set piece, the speech in the Oireachtas, the meetings with the president, the meeting with the Taoiseach, and then the speech on Friday is in Mayo in front of the cathedral that apparently Joe Biden's great whatever grandfather sold the bricks to be built. That's the narrative. He sold the bricks to build the cathedral, and he's given a speech in front of that. So look, a lot of the images that come from these visits are the locality, and of course the locality are very proud of it, and they make the most of it because it's going to be a huge tourism for a long time. So a lot of the images come from that. What the wider Irish public make of it, I don't think you ever know, because I don't think it's fully representative of what the local groups are saying. So maybe the Dublin visit is probably more reflective of what the wider Irish population will think of it. And it will be very interesting to see what Biden decides to say in the Oireachtas and what he decides to say on Friday. Will it be the platitudes that you'd expect and exactly the speech you'd expect? Will he go a bit more in depth? Because he is genuinely proud of his Irish-American identity. He has chosen that identity for himself, really, and he's always made it a big part of who he is. Or will he say anything political or anything to move forward any narrative? So I imagine it'll be a nice speech. I imagine we'll all be very happy.
We'll all be very happy.
Very happy and proud to be Irish and be patted on the head a little bit. But I'd hope maybe we'll be able to move towards maybe a slightly more equal relationship between Ireland and America.
Announce the candidacy in the Dáil. Announce the candidacy, Joe. Go for it. Why not? Bit of news. Lorcan Nyhan from the Communications Clinic and journalist Amanda Ferguson. Thank you both so much for being with us. We appreciate it both.
Thank you so much.
Lots more to come on Ireland Day.
Welcome back. Dr. Denise O Dwyer is a psychologist who has been blogging about mental health for years and uses her platform to help her followers live their lives to the fullest.
Chartered principal psychologist and author, Dr. Denise O Dwyer. Welcome. Good morning. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks so much.
You've got a new book, The Psychology of Sparkle, and there's lots in there about confidence, sex, relationships, but there is bits on fashion, which we just thought was so fascinating. So, how does what we wear, how does it affect our confidence?
It affects us like so much. I mean, as you said, I have a full chapter on the psychology of fashion, and I suppose, you know, if you throw on a great suit or wear a great dress, whatever, it instantly changes how you feel, and not only how you feel about yourself, but also how you relate to people around you. And I suppose there's been lots of research to back it up in terms of the impact of colour and, you know, how it impacts us in terms of our own mentality and how we kind of the energy that we bring into a space, but also every single person that we come into contact with. So it's...
And with colour, like dopamine dressing is a term that I fell upon only quite recently, and it is all about colour and using it to boost your mood. So explain like the psychology behind colour and why we apply it to our dresses and, I don't know, the clothes we wear if we want to feel better.
Yeah, I mean, like if you think even of like, you know, former presidents, you know, the way their attire is very much curated and selected, and like even down to their tie is very much kind of synonymous with whatever the occasion is, and it really pulls you in. It draws in the eye immediately, so you automatically become more interested in the person if they have kind of, you know, an appearance that kind of draws you in from the outset. I think it was I've made reference to this in the book as well, that you know, Tom Ford, he makes reference to the fact that, you know, dressing well or putting thought into how you dress is actually a mark of respect, not only for yourself, but for the people that you come into contact with. So there's huge implications in terms of everything from the colour that we choose to our styling and you know, to show our personality.
Yeah,
really.
It's that non-verbal communication whereby there's this whole thing about Presidents of America, when it's freezing cold, they won't wear a coat because they're young and virile and strong, and you're like, put a coat on, love, it's freezing. But honestly, with all of these things, because it isn't just you being able to look okay, right? Because the fashion industry obviously puts an awful lot upon us. There's an awful lot of people who are a certain size who might be able to get what other people can get. So can you get trapped in this and being like, well, I can't get clothes that I want to wear? Like there's outside factors that come into this, right? We've all sat in front of our wardrobe when we've got nothing to wear.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think, you know, regardless of kind of shape, size, even budget, like it's possible to look well and to use clothes to your advantage, you know. And if you have that, whatever it is, business meeting or something that you really want to smash it, that, you know, you can pick that favourite outfit that you know always works, or that you always get complimented on, or you know, that you feel good in, because it really is about, like, fashion is really an extension of our personality and an extension of who we are. So it's really about like trying to draw on what's authentically you and kind of express that through your style.
Especially one thing, like with COVID, a lot of people who worked, you know, in professional settings, like in offices and everything like that, that changed so much. During COVID, I was still working in an office, and like I went from, you know, you wear pencil skirts, people are wearing suits, to like a trackie or your pajama bottoms, and down there, you're in your bedroom, in the box room. Do you know what I mean? And I do wonder if that changes or impacts us negatively in the way we perform at our workplace. What would be your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that, like, we were all guilty of like our clothes kind of literally became like an extension of our homes during COVID, didn't they, really? And so I think it's kind of a gradual progression coming out of that and kind of getting back to corporate edginess or whatever. So I think we've kind of got the best of both worlds now, that a lot of people are kind of, maybe teaming like a sharp suit with a trainer. So you kind of get the kind of pre-COVID plus during COVID. But I think you're right in that it affects our psychology. So it's like that meme that, you see on social media, get up, dress up, show up for life. That if you're not dressed appropriately, or if you don't kind of have that kind of sense of confidence within you, and that's what you're projecting, it does impact. Like if you're just slopping around in a tracksuit bottoms, as you said, it definitely impacts on how you think, how you feel, and how you relate to people.
It's really interesting if you're at home and you can kind of go, actually, I do feel a bit different like that. 0896 111 111, because there are, Sonia Lennon's involved with a charity, Dress for Success, and it's for people who can get some clothes if they don't think they have the right ones to go into an interview. So the fact that the two are intertwined, is it viewed within the community, the psychological community, of being a frivolous thing? Or is it like, no, lads, this makes a difference in how people feel in their everyday lives?
Yeah, well, I suppose my interest in fashion was, and my chapter on the psychology of fashion in my book was a little bit self-indulgent, to be honest. I don't know if every other psychologist has as much interest as I do in fashion. But I do think across the board that it makes such a difference, and there has been, like you mentioned, about non-verbal communication, like there has been studies. There's a famous social psychologist, Amy Cuddy, and she did like a TED talk that went viral, and that was all to do with like non-verbal communication and how, how we present ourselves and how it impacts our own psychology, and that it predicts with precision, actually, in terms of how the effect that we have on other people. So.
It's fascinating. I know you talk about so much inside your book as well. It's right there. It's called The Psychology of Sparkle. Dr. Denise O Dwyer, it's been a pleasure having you this morning. Look at her, dressed up for it. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're showing up for life. I love it.
Can I just say, just before I go, that 10% of sales go to Self Help Africa, and it's available through all leading book outlets. And also that I work for the National Learning Network, who are part of the rehab group in Ireland.
Amazing. Lovely. Thank you so much, Denise. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with you on Ireland AM very shortly.
That was a very short sting. We don't have normally a big long sting at 8 o'clock.
None of us were ready. We were like, what? Where were we meant to be?
You're very welcome back. It's 8 o'clock, and this hour we're talking daring activities, dating with a twist, and daytime dressing.
Yes,
all
we
the Ds.
are. She took on page 3 and 1. We're going to be meeting the campaigner who put an end to the topless model features in newspapers. Alan was devastated, and she tells us why she still challenges sexism today.
I actually didn't know there was a whole campaign to try and get rid of it, like
Huge,
to the extent that it was. Very interesting.
No more page 3.
Yeah. Later on, one couple reveal how adding a third romantic partner to become a trouble has revitalised their marriage.
We'll tell you more. Plus, we hear from the Sligo woman who turned an unusual hobby into a world title, the champion axe thrower. Oh, yes, she's going to be showing us how it's done a little bit later on.
We're throwing axes. Yeah.
In the rain.
Now, Susie, would you ever go on a night out throwing axes?
I'll give it a go.
There you see, I love it.
Give it a go.
I love it, Susie. But apart from throwing axes, all our leftover Easter eggs, you're going to put them to good use.
Indeed, I am. Nice chocolatey, easy buns, and just you can share them then and you don't feel guilty.
Lovely. Yeah, fair play to you. Like your style. We'll be with you in just a little while, Susie. They look lovely.
Still chocolate though, isn't it?
Ah, stop it.
Still chocolate.
They're looking like dopamine cakes over there. Katya, any dopamine dressing on the catwalk?
Yeah, a bit of dopamine dress. I mean, when we get over this rain today, that's the plan. It's all about daytime dresses, whether you wear them with sandals or trainers. We've got you covered. We plan ahead of time. Justine, what have you got for us?
Yeah, it's all about bright and prints and fun. So let's close our eyes and pretend it's sunny outside, because it's going to be in the next few weeks. So as you can see, beautiful printed dresses, gorgeous open-toe sandals, some fabulous runners. But yeah, it's all bright and colourful and fun.
I think we need that. We need that this morning. But anyway, Derek, he is in one of Joe Biden's ancestral hometowns in Carlingford as locals prepare to give him a warm welcome. Derek, what's it like over there?
Thank you very much, Kathy, and welcome back up here to Carlingford in County Louth, the ancestral home of President Joe Biden, the 46th President of the United States of America. He's due to land in here across the Cooley Peninsula later on this afternoon in and around 3 p.m. A little bit of a buzz, a little bit of an early build-up here beginning to start in the town itself. We're going to be catching up with a local who's gone full-out Joe Biden in anticipation of his arrival a little bit later on. Of course, Joe Biden was here, not his first visit to the Cooley Peninsula. Back in 2017, he came in his role as Vice President. So we're going to be catching up, as I mentioned, with some of the locals here on the ground a little bit later on this morning. But for now, back to you guys in studio.
Thanks very much, Derek. Yeah, they're lining up there in their
You're
wands. In their wands.
They know they've got. We're here to tell them what time he's going to be there at. So it's totally fine. Yeah, so
they
you're absolutely fine.
Well, Derek said 3 o'clock this afternoon.
At this stage, if Derek does it, Derek should surely get to meet him. We're acting as though he's going to be on the show. Go on, Derek. We believe in you. Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline: Biden to stress benefits of Belfast Agreement in keynote address. The US President is expected to hail the tremendous progress since the Belfast Agreement was signed and emphasise Washington's readiness to preserve those gains made in Northern Ireland.
Biden touches down with pledge of cash to end Brexit standoff. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. President Biden will promise fresh economic support for Northern Ireland today on the condition that there is restoration of power sharing at Stormont.
The Star goes with Joe Brawley. They also mentioned President Joe Biden arrived in Ireland last night and was greeted with wind and rain for the start of his historic visit.
The Examiner leads with Biden begins historic Ireland visit.
Here we go is the top story on the Mirror.
And the Sun leads with a different story. Taken away too young, Lucas Joyce and Kirsty Bowen, both 14, were killed when the vehicle they were in with 2 other friends hit a tree outside Headford in County Galway.
And sticking with that story, the Irish Daily Mail leads with fears that online dare led to crash that killed teenagers. A Garda investigation will examine if a social media challenge played a role in the horrific Galway road crash that took the lives of Lucas Joyce and Kirsty Bowen.
The Herald goes with no for the juggler. Ireland's tourism and art sectors have been kicked in the balls, that's the juggling kind, after the biggest juggling convention in the world pulled out of staging its event over securing insurance here in Ireland.
I mean, Derek was all ready to go. He had it lined up for a week of heading off with the jugglers. You would have been over there.
We would have been
over there.
We would have been all there. Just shows you insurance in in this country.
Same
like
thing
when you go to big events,
concerts, everything. It's all happening now.
For Katie Taylor, couldn't do Croke Park because the insurance.
I thought you were going to do a crude pun. He didn't go down that route. No. He went straight to the insurance. You know,
straight to the insurance.
We were talking a little bit earlier on about Tupperware parties because Tupperware is in danger of.
Extinction?
Going out of business. Tupperware.
To be fair, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, something that's meant to be sustainable and last for life. You know, that kind of makes sense.
And we were asking, did you ever have a Tupperware party? Muireann never been to one. And then Muireann's mother.
Straight away. I could feel my wrist go. She was like, I've been to a Tupperware party. So Mary has been to numerous
Good morning,
Mary.
Morning, Mary. Like, been to many a Tupperware party, Mary has. And Helen's also said in the 70s, 80s, Tupperware parties were a huge thing in every corner of Ireland. I held 1 or 2 myself and maybe went to up to 20 of them. The crack was mighty, but then Ann Summers came along. And that was the end of the Tupperware parties.
Now, can I ask, because I did have to Google Tupperware parties on the break, but I think if I was a woman in the 70s and 80s, I would have loved it, because like food, getting the girls together.
Yeah, that's what it was all about.
But who's Ann Summers? Because I asked you, was it the Ann Summers, Blanchardstown Shopping Centre?
Yes, the lingerie.
Then she was a mail order, so you'd send away for it. She used to have shops.
Okay.
I'm sure it's in other places than Blanchardstown.
God rest her soul. It used to be all over Ireland and the UK.
Blanchardstown Shopping Centre's my local.
Oh, there you go.
So
do you go into Ann Summers when you're there?
What?
Katia, you do not have to answer that.
He's trying to catch me out.
She doesn't have to answer that.
Moving on, Sandra. I'm 37, and when I was a kid, Tupperware parties were all the rage for my mum and her friends. Now I'm a mum myself. I got the Tupperware obsession. I use them for everything in the kitchen, from lunches to leftovers. Long live the Tupperware. It's better for the planet than cling film or other disposable food packaging.
And Katie is currently writing an email going, can I please get Martin back and not have to put up with this stuff?
I am sorry I ever came. Oh my God.
And just really quickly, we were talking about, there was an article about work icks, just things that turn you off and your colleagues do at work that you're like, this is so ick. Louise, I work with a girl who is so loud on the telephone, she drives me mad. I need to leave the office whenever she's on because I just can't think. Are you writing all of these work icks, Alan?
Hello?
Fake
Hello? I'm Fran. I work with a girl who cycles to work. She always smells damp when she arrives, but I don't have the heart to tell her.
Now, you said the thing about fish, so I have to put this in. It is gross. I sat next to someone. I love him. He's great crack. But he'd leave his lunch in for ages and just put his Tupperware in the drawer and then just be mould the next week on it. And it was
Martin King.
She'll take the Ann Summers over that.
Yeah, Martin King. Shocking.
We want your work icks.
Because somebody earlier on said that somebody, and Muireann has experienced this, would put fish in the microwave. I can only imagine how that would smell out the canteen or office where you are.
Dang. 089 611 111. We're getting loads in on codeine as well, and the fact that that could become prescription. We'll talk to you about that in just a little while. But up next, we speak to one of the activists behind the No More Page 3 campaign that happened in the Thames. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland Day. Welcome back. Now, in 2015, the Sun newspaper in the UK stopped the tradition of including topless models on the third page of their newspaper after the grassroots campaign No More Page 3. We here in Ireland did it in 2013. Clap ourselves on the back there.
Well done,
Or
Ireland.
else maybe you're going, why did you do that?
Exactly. Now with us today to talk about her time in the movement is Jo Cheetham. Good morning to you, Jo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Now, I was chatting to Muireann a little earlier on, and we were mentioning this on the show, that I didn't realise how big this campaign was. So can you tell us about the campaign and how you got involved?
Yeah, so the campaign was set up in 2012 by Lucy-Anne Holmes, who is a writer, and she bought a copy of The Sun during the Olympics for the sports coverage. And she was really just depressed to see that the biggest image of a woman in the paper was the topless model on page 3, despite the fact that Jessica Ennis and Victoria Pendleton had just won gold for Team B. So she set up a petition online asking The Sun to please drop the topless photos. And I read about it in a newspaper and turned up to the very first campaign protest. And that's how I got involved.
And you turned up to the protest because of a pigeon. What happened?
Yes, it was because of the pigeon. So I'd had a really bad week, you know, the kind of week where you don't want to go outside and you spend as much time as you can in your bedroom. So I was doing that, just watching rubbish on the internet. And then there was a noise and a dead pigeon came flying down my chimney, which was in my bedroom, and just scattered maggots across the bottom of my bed. And that's what pushed me out of the door and actually to the protest. Otherwise, I would never have gone.
It did change the course of your life. Like, it's fascinating that this changed the course of your life. But what was your relationship with Page 3 prior to this?
So I grew up in a council house in Rotherham, and my dad was a Sun reader, and everybody's dad was a Sun reader that I knew, really. So I saw Page 3 every single day. I saw it at home, on the bus, at school. It was everywhere, and I hated it. I always hated it my whole life. But I never thought it was anything that we could do anything about. You know, I just thought this is just how it is. We just have to put up with it.
But, like, you say that you had friends, like, because if you come from a working class area, this was a way that they saw that you could get on in life. And some of your friends at a very young age were posing. This is the way you'd pose to be a Page 3 model.
Yeah, it was a game that some of my friends would play, you know, and they'd pose like the Page 3 model of the day and pretend to take pictures. And I can completely understand why, you know, this was a career that seemed so brilliant, because it was the only place really that we saw girls from our own kind of background in the media. And there were huge stars at the time. When you think about women like Samantha Fox, you know, they had these huge careers and they were seen and celebrated. So it's not a surprise to me that that was such an ideal kind of career.
But when you think about it, like Samantha Fox was 16 years old when she was first. Like if you thought of a 16-year-old now in a national paper
doing that,
posing top, like there has been such a huge cultural shift. And we had at the time magazines like Loaded and Nuts and all these things on the shelf where there was just boobs everywhere. Like there were. It was just the way it was. So I'm assuming, Joe, when you got involved in this campaign and there was 5 of you at the original protest and then it gets more and more and more, that loads of people, everyone was really happy that you were doing it and there was no backlash whatsoever.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Everyone was thrilled and there were no problems. Yeah, we got a lot of abuse online, as you can imagine. It was a campaign that was really run on social media. And every day, you know, we got tons of death threats. It was not even an hourly basis. It was sort of every kind of 5 to 10 minutes would have to be deleting another death threat. So there was a lot of abuse.
But Joe, how do you deal with that and how did you deal with that back then?
So there was a group of us and we were really supportive of one another. So if one of us was manning social media and it was getting a bit much, we'd take a step back and someone else would cover for us. So we just had this amazing support network, really. But if I'd been doing it on my own, I don't know how I would have coped with that at all.
Yeah, you definitely need people around you for that. And as Alan mentioned, you started gathering support in relation to, you know, an MP wore a No More Page 3 T-shirt inside to the House of the Commons, breaking parliamentary rules on what you're allowed to wear. You had big, high-profile names, Russell Brand and all that, starting to support you. And again, there's been such a shift. So it's been gone from Ireland for 10 years. 10 years. Like I remember you'd walk into like a mechanics and there'd be Page 3.
Yeah.
But I don't just mean mechanics. You know what I mean? But you'd find it in places. And now there has been a difference. But Joe, it hasn't solved everything, has it? Like we live in a world with the rise of Andrew Tate. We live in a world where misogyny, it seems to be getting quite strong, or it's certainly still there. And you've written a book, Killjoy, and it's fascinating. Killjoy, taking on a macho media empire and winning. What do you take from it now in the time since this campaign happened?
Well, I mean, even at the time, we didn't think that we'd get rid of Page 3 and everything would be fine. You know, it was kind of symbolic of a million bigger issues. And exactly as you said, there's so many problems right now, particularly with, you know, the rise of online misogyny with people like Andrew Tate. But I just think small wins, you know, I'm all about the small wins. And the fact that Page 3 isn't here anymore, it's great. And I think we need to celebrate that and keep on pushing these small incremental changes that ultimately will make a big difference.
Yeah. But it has made a big difference. And as you said, so you documented this, you kept notes and you kept journals right the way through. Why did you decide to do that from the start? Was it always the thing that I will write about this someday?
Yeah, I always knew I would write about it. I mean, it's quite creepy, actually, that I said to the people involved, I'm going to write about you one day. But I've kept a diary since I was a kid. So I had notes all the way through. And then I just started piecing it together, just really to remember what we did, because it was such a special time.
And did you ever speak to any of the Page 3 girls who were doing it at the time? And what were they saying about why they were doing it?
Yeah, so we had support from some models who had posed for The Sun and for other publications previously. Some of them agreed with the campaign and said, we think times have changed and maybe it's time we stop this. Others didn't agree, you know, which we totally understood because this is their career, it's their job. And they said, you know, well, it's our chosen career path and we want to do it. And we completely accepted that because it was never actually, the campaign wasn't against the models or against topless modelling. It was against the editorial decision to include that in a newspaper. Yeah, exactly. It's not exactly news. Boobs have been around since the dawn of time. It's not breaking news, Joe. How does it feel, though, to be a person who's kind of beaten Rupert Murdoch? It's kind of interesting. There's only a few of you in the world because obviously he's the owner of The Sun. You know, I hadn't thought of it in that way. And you saying that, I'm pleased. Yes. That feels nice. Who wouldn't want to be Rupert Murdoch? We all want to. 100%. Of course you are. And Terry Hall, go for it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, Joe, that they never actually publicly came out and said we are ending it, it just sort of phased out without any fanfare. But you must have been so pleased then when it did. But would you have preferred if they did make the big statement and say, it's because of our campaign that this has happened?
Well, if they just made a statement at all, you know, even without referencing the campaign, we would have known that it was over. But they never said that they've actually removed page 3, so who knows? They might bring it back tomorrow.
I doubt it.
There we go. Joe, you'll be there with the T-shirt on right there. The book is called Killjoy, Taking on a Macho Media Empire and Winning. Author Joe Cheetham. It has been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks
Cheers,
so much.
Joe.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a million.
Now, we've lots more on Ireland DM still to come. We're back in a few minutes.
Colourful start up here in Carlingford in County Louth, and we're going to be catching up with the crew at a local coffee shop in anticipation of Joe Biden's arrival a little bit later on this morning. A bit of a buzz beginning to build here in the town as well. So that's all to come into the next hour now. Quick look at weather. We're slipping past 8:30. It's still quite a windy one out there this morning. Dry and settled here in the wee county, but elsewhere plenty of showers now, especially across the southern half of the country in those locally strong northwesterly winds. Now right across today, in fact, it will be a wet and it will be a windy one. So in fact, we are expecting showers here in Carlingford for the President's visit. Elsewhere, again, it's going to be very windy out there as well, with the risk of hail and thunderstorm activity. Top temps of about 6 to 11 degrees. And finally then tonight, as that rain pushes up across the country, it's going to be that mixture of scattered showers and clear spells. Those winds moderating as they veer to the west. And it will be quite a cold night in store, with values back to about freezing to 6 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in a settled Carlingford, County Louth at the moment. We'll be back again live at 9.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The quote devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Where are all the people in Carlingford? There's not a sinner in Carlingford.
I think
the Secret Service has kept them
I think
all in
they're
their
scared
houses.
of the Secret Service, the amount of Secret Service in Ireland right now. Maybe that's why. God.
It's 8:30 in the morning. There's not one person on the street.
I know.
It's crazy.
Maybe no one really cares. Anyway, well, if for some bizarre reason you have leftover Easter eggs after the weekend, or maybe you had one saved for the neighbour and she just never dropped by, we've the perfect
Is that what you
recipe.
did?
That's what I did. The perfect recipe for you to help you use them up.
Yeah, Susie Lee is here to help us. Good morning, Susie. How are we?
Good, thank you.
It's still chocolate, but we're just using it in a different way.
In a different way. And then sharing's caring. So this makes me feel less guilty that I'm literally making buns and going, you eat them. I don't want to eat them anymore. So yeah, if you have a leftover Easter egg, we are just melting some butter. Then we are adding some golden syrup. But my top tip is adding a little bit of oil to the spoon.
Oh, so it doesn't stick too much.
You know, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So just a couple of tablespoons of this. This makes 12.
Is
really
that
good
similar to honey, maple syrup, or a combination of both?
So this is pretty much just pure sugar. We'll not talk about that bit. So honey is obviously
forget
the
about that.
benefit.
It's chocolate and everything else. You're just putting in piles of sugar as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But this actually stops the chocolate. You know, when you melt chocolate, it gets a bit stiff and grainy. So the sugar in this actually then makes it.
Stop trying to make excuses.
I
for
am.
what
I'm
you're
just
putting
trying to
in.
make it like scientific
Yeah.
and to make it extra chewy. And why not add more sugar since you're doing it? A handful of marshmallows, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But it just makes it really sticky and sort of
Chewy.
like chewy. Yeah. So you melt that all down. And once the marshmallows start to get a bit soft, then you can add in your egg. So literally, there's no
My husband's
scientific.
favourite part is literally banging to break the egg. He's like a child. He's kept going,
absolutely.
oh, bang.
Or you
like-
can bash it on your head, but I'll
Yeah.
not do that on
No,
live
let's not
television.
do that live TV, yeah.
So we're throwing that in.
Easy
And
peasy. I mean,
easy
and
peasy.
everyone probably has one left over.
Yeah,
It's
so
something
if
to
you
do
don't have
today.
cornflakes, you can use like Rice Krispies, or if not, if you have digestive biscuits or rich tea biscuits, mash those in.
Yeah.
The same thing. So I have a lot of variations on this recipe depending on what I have.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
saw on Instagram the other day, I think this child had about 20 Easter eggs. And I was
20.
going, it looked like he had about 20 Easter eggs.
A lot of people, because we had Heather Leeson on the weekend about how much sugar we should be having. Kids,
and what
kids
was it?
only should have like six little teaspoons or something. So having that many Easter eggs, that's his year's worth supply of sugar in one day. Gosh. So bouncing off the walls.
Like, if you have Rice Krispies, that's fine as well. If you have cornflakes, if you have anything like that.
Yeah, anything that can just like soak up this lovely chocolate.
Yeah, soak it up.
It's like watering something down.
Absolutely. So I like seeing some of the marshmallow bits still in it, but you could keep mixing it till it's all kind of
so
like...
what's the equivalent then of Rice Krispies to chocolate? Like, so it's
okay, so
triple the amount.
Yeah, so this is literally, for this is 150 grams, so it does seem quite a lot, but if you use biscuits, it's like half of that. It would be like sort of just over half a packet of biscuits you'd crack up and then you'd just put them in.
Right.
But some people like a lot of chocolate. Some people just like a little coating, so you can add more biscuit or Rice Krispies.
Like a digestive, like you'd break up a digestive or something like that.
So you're just winging that in. Not very scientific.
I think because of the ingredients and it's an easy enough recipe to do that kids can get involved.
Yeah.
In
so my
making
little kids love just making this, well, actually eating out of the pot.
Yeah.
All right.
Never make it to the cupcakes.
Yeah.
They had lots of Easter eggs over Easter, did they?
Yeah, Mummy and Daddy may have eaten them all.
Oh, right.
And one of them's here.
That's allowed. That's allowed.
Because, you don't want them actually to be bouncing off walls.
No.
So we're
You
kind of...
helped out.
We helped out.
Yeah.
Took one for the team, as
Yeah,
my hubby would say. He was just like, no, they don't need to know about those or remember.
It's like that Jimmy Kimmel prank with the Halloween sweets, the parents eating the Halloween sweets.
And it's just like, did you get those? No, and you just put them into another stash, your own stash. So you can make them as pretty or not. You can just wing them in to the cupcake kind of cases.
And that's a good bit of coating and like just extra chocolate to have on it. It's a lovely ratio with the cornflakes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any other leftover chocolates, you can just add them in and you can have like wee
this
buns.
goes into the fridge then, does it?
It can sit out for like, these are going to be hardened in about 20 minutes because I added the marshmallows. They kind of just become kind of like stiff and then they sort of set quite quickly.
So you don't need to put it into the...
No, so you don't need to. No, you don't need to. So you put marshmallows, you could put chocolate buns. If you have other chocolate bars, those Easter eggs come with different bars.
Yeah.
Crush those up, put them in, and then you get to share them with other people, and then you don't feel guilty.
It is a great idea because, like, the children's still off school this week, so nice
it's
way to just do
it's
something
a really,
simple
really good...
and get them to fill the cases and do all their little toppings on it and stuff. Are we going to taste one?
Yeah, I didn't think you wanted to. You were just staring at them.
No, there they are there. So
here you go.
Do you want to have one?
Yeah, right. Do you want to take the one with marshmallows or eggs?
Well, they're all...
Oh,
no,
they
there is
actually
some.
have a bit of both. Look, these two have both.
Are you sure these weren't... Do they go that hard if they're not in the fridge?
Yes, they haven't been in the fridge.
Is it just the chocolate that solidifies
Yeah,
them?
so the chocolate then solidifies
Is there nuts
it.
in this?
None.
Oh, what's all that? Oh, yeah.
That's lovely. Do you know what? I was thinking it would be kind of hard to bite into, but it's not.
Not really so. It's like that toffee crisp or toffee thing that you used to get years ago.
Yeah, so it's just like adding like the marshmallows makes it softer, but also the golden syrup, as I said, it kind of stops it crystallizing and you're not biting into really...
That's delicious.
That's actually so nice.
What's the cornflakes I'm looking at? Of course. God almighty, I thought it was nuts. That's exactly...
He's lost the
plot.
plot.
Oh, my God, I've lost the plot. It's been a long week.
Oh,
and it's a short week.
Before Alan starts bouncing off the walls, it's break time now.
We're in.
You're on the catwalk. What's
that? You had to do a little. You had to make something up about nuts or something. Did you? What were you doing?
No, I was.
It's mad. Hi, we don't know what's happening over here in this corner. We've gone all because cornflakes and everything like that. It's all about daytime dresses. Ursula's here right now. We're showing you how to style the wardrobe staple after this short break. Talk to you shortly on Ireland Day. Okay, now you got to be with us today in this theatre of the mind because we know it's like winter is coming outside, but let's think spring.
It's role play, right?
It's role play. If your wardrobe needs a spring shake-up, we have got you covered.
Yes, Justine King is here to make sure your style is on point for whenever the good weather decides to arrive. Yeah.
Our Derek, she's going to sort it out with us today. Justine, good morning.
Good morning.
Theatre of the mind, my friends.
Yes, I think if we say it out loud, it will come. So good weather come our way.
Build it.
Yeah,
and it
we're
will
ready
come.
for you.
So we're going to start with Ursula today.
Yes, so Ursula is in this beautiful printed look that just makes me happy. With all these gorgeous summery colours. So we'll start with her dress, and that dress is from My Kind of Dress, Irish online brand, and this is a great shape. I love that kind of butterfly sleeve there. It's really relaxed fit across the sleeve, and then it is a kind of a faux wrap style at the front. Then it does have a little button across the bust as well, which I always like, because for bigger busts, you mightn't want the V as high on that. So you could move the button, or you could put a little different stitch in it. As you can see, it has the beautiful slit as well, and then it has a fabric tie waist belt, but of course you could add your own waist belt in any of the colours that are going on in the dress, or add a pop of metallic with the waist belt there too.
Okay, you've picked up on a is there a subtle blue? No,
yeah, there's a little bit of blue in it. You could obviously use any of the colours that are going through the dress in your jacket. We've gone for this suedette biker here from Friday's Edit, another online Irish brand. And the suedette biker is a nicer, kind of softer version of a leather biker. Great one for spring. It's not going to be as heavy or as stiff to wear. It's lovely and soft, and it's just going to go with everything. You wear that with your t-shirt and your jeans.
Beautiful.
My eyes went to the shoes straight away, because I have a wedding in the summer, and I'm like, we need them because of the grass. They're so essential. Where are these from?
They're stunning. They're from Demoda Shoes. So they're a boutique in Tuam, and they're also online. These are a beautiful Spanish brand. They're 100% leather as well. They've got a gorgeous cushioned insole, and then of course that chunky tortoiseshell and buckle across the front. We're seeing a lot of that this year. I think it's kind of J.W. Anderson inspiration trickling down. But it is that kind of chunky. But that one, because it's in the same colours as well as the rest of the shoe, it's kind of subtle as well.
Lovely. Our jewellery today?
Our jewellery is all from littlepiecestolove.com. So another Irish brand set up by a mother while she was on maternity leave, that set this up during lockdown. And we'll start off, her gorgeous necklace there, as you can see, is an 18-carat gold-plated stainless steel necklace, and then the bracelet as well, gorgeous braided snake chain kind of bracelet too. It's a nice little subtle everyday piece.
Absolutely gorgeous. Ursula, you look fabulous. We'll see what you're coming out with next in just a few minutes, but we're going to go to Simona right now for our second look of the day.
Yeah, so we're keeping up our nice bright spring colours, this look on Simona. The dress, again, is from My Kind of Dress. This is a beautiful dress for dressing up and down. We've gone for the daytime dressing today, but of course this would be fab at a wedding with a pair of sandals too. It's got the little ruffle detail on the sleeve. It's got the subtle little V-neck. It does come with its own fabric waist belt. I added this waist belt that is also from My Kind of Dress, that has the kind of pearl and gold detailing on it. It is lined then as far as the knee, and then it's got that kind of tiered effect. So beautiful maxi dress. Sandals on holidays with your trainers during the day, or with a kind of pair of high heels for a wedding would be fab.
What about these now? Would you wear these? Oh, we've got the belt going on there, but would you wear these shoes now?
No,
You're thinking about the graphs.
I like the shoes before, but I'd wear the belt, because like if you have pearl earrings, it'd really tie it in quite nicely, wouldn't it?
And that's a stretch waist belt that is one size. It fits an 8 to a 14, so it does have a good stretch and different kind of adjustments on it.
And we're wearing jackets very coolly today. One shoulder, Simona, you got it going on.
We're all about showing off the dresses.
Yes.
But this beautiful jacket is from Friday's Edit, and it's their coral stretch denim. So they have a whole selection of different colours. You can get your blues or your whites as well, but I love the coral, picking up on that little bit of coral in the dress too.
Yeah, you're nicely picking up on the subtle ones there. Now, let's look at these shoes. These have been around, these style shoes with the gold cross fabric.
Yes.
About 3 years now.
Yeah, and they're really
So
comfortable,
comfy,
because they have that added support across the front. Again, a cushioned insole on these ones, and then the espadrille. I mean, espadrille just screams summer and holidays for me. It makes me want to book something. And they come in a silver as well, if you're more of a silver gal.
Lovely. And the jewellery?
Yeah, so the jewellery then, we'll start off with the earrings, and these are the vintage drops, and they've got a little bit of an amethyst kind of stone. She has them in a selection of different colours, and then it has some diamante detailing across the hook as well. So they'd be a lovely evening piece as well. And then the necklace is her mama necklace. Of course, as I said, the brand was created by a mama, so this one's all about celebrating the mum. Great gift for a new mum. And this one comes in silver too, and it's again 18 carat gold plated on stainless steel.
Thank you so much, Simona. Lovely.
And sticking to the denim trend, I guess, we have
Kelly.
Kelly
I just spring is denim jackets and leather jackets, isn't it? So Kelly then in this look from Born Clothing, so another Irish brand who have 20 stores across the country and are also online. Her dress here, it's a really simple, gorgeous wrap dress. It's in the hot pink that we've seen since last year. I think the Barbie movie.
Barbie core.
Yes. It's sticking around, but it's a great colour because it suits paler skin tones and darker skin tones as well. A wrap dress, of course, is an easy style for anyone to wear, and I think again we could dress this one up or down easily. It's got the balloon sleeve as well, as you can see, just 3/4 sleeve. It's just your easy, you have that for years, it's never
And with
out.
trainers even, like, you can dress it up, dress it down.
Exactly, it's a really kind of easy, versatile piece. It suits lots of different body types as well.
I'm only wearing my jacket like this in the future. Kelly, that's it, you've all done it this morning.
So the jacket, of course, is your classic kind of mid-wash blue denim. Bourne have much lighter denims and much darker, depending on the kind of style that you like. I like that the jackets this year are a classic fit. They're not cropped and they're not the masculine oversized fit. We're just regular classic fits in our denim jackets.
Give us length.
Yes.
Give me length.
We've had enough of our cropped jackets. So.
Just give me length. Beautiful. Gorgeous runners as well.
Yeah, the trainers then, of course, your classic white trainer, but with the pop of kind of cool leopard print at the back. They're very cool. And with the gold hardware going through them means you can pair them with your gold jewellery and then the kind of gold on the laces as well.
Kind of like an Alexander McQueen.
Yeah, with that platform
really cool.
kind of sole.
And you've gone very cool with the pearl on the necklace.
Yes, so our earrings there, that's actually, you only need one pin, but it looks like she has various piercings.
Yeah.
So it looks like you've got the 4 claws, you don't have to commit to the multiple piercings. And they come in gold as well. And then the necklace, that's actually sold as one piece. They are 2 separate necklaces, but you can see the bit of sparkle and the bit of pearl with your drop pendant too.
Gorgeous, Kelly, thank you so much. Your hair has grown so much. I was like, Kelly, your hair's so long. Ursula is back with our final look of the day.
Yeah,
Oh, fab.
so beautiful blue. It's kind of a classic nautical look. This one again is from Bourne Fashions, and it is Emily and Me, which is a designer exclusive to them. The Emily and Me dresses all come in an 8 up to a 22, so it's nice and size inclusive as well. Great fit. It's got the wrap front as well, and then the midi kind of length and the little waist belt on it too, and then the t-shirt sleeve. Isn't that just a nice, easy
Now,
dress?
the proper, the real, the Castanier espadrilles going on here, the style, the original, they're still beautiful.
Yes, they're absolutely gorgeous. These are your real kind of holiday shoe. They are leather at the front, and then obviously you have the ribbon tie, but they also have these in a range of colours in suede too. So they have them in pink, in black, and in navy. I think the white, though, picking up on the little bit of white going through the print is just so classic and gorgeous.
Beautiful.
So then her jewellery, we have earrings here, which are the something blue earrings from Little Pieces to Love. So they have a subtle little blue amongst the floral clusters of diamante detailing. And then in the necklace, this is the Gras necklace. It has the word Gras actually engraved on that beautiful disc. And then, yeah, it's just your nice kind of everyday piece, and it's an adjustable chain length as well. So you can adjust it to where
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks, Ursula. See the way Justine made all the gals get out in their espadrilles and stuff, and she's in the big boots.
I know.
She knew what was going on today. She's like, it's freezing. Not open hell. Justine King, thank you so much. Now, lots more to come in the final hour? Yeah, lots more to come in the final hour, including a throuple. Yeah, and we'll be throwing axes. We went alliterative today.
Gosh, sounds so exciting. So do stay with us.
Welcome back. Earlier on, we were talking about an article in the Times, and it's about workplace icks. So stuff that your colleagues do that just
make you go
ick. And we haven't talked amongst ourselves, but we want to talk about your ones because they are well done to everyone on the icks today. These are so good.
Is there anything that I do that makes you go, ugh?
No, I love every single thing about you. Every single day he brings a smile to my face.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when he frightens the living life out of me. Every morning,
I do that sometimes.
And I lose my life.
I do come into the makeup rooms because it's nice and quiet there about 6:30 in the morning, and they're all and I come in and go,
He does exactly like that.
Disturbs the peace.
Okay, let's get some icks, Katja.
Marge sent one in. This is pretty funny. I have so many work icks. A person was spotted putting used cutlery into the cutlery drawer because he saw that the dishwasher was full.
No.
Another person used a microwave a mushroom rice dish and walk the full length of the office and eat it at his desk. It smelled like a compost heap and the smell would linger for hours.
I suppose it comes out of the microwave and you're walking down still hot and just the smell
And you probably worked right at the back.
Yeah.
Right at the back.
Sorry, because the dishwasher was full, they just put the used cutlery in the drawer.
Who raised you? Who raised you?
Lily, thanks for this one.
Lily.
Lobbing the gob. Is that what they say?
That's one of my icks for you. You're lobbing the gob all the time inside the office.
I'm lobbing the gob all the time. I used to work in a place where we had a tiny canteen. Can you imagine this now? A small little canteen. And one of the new workplace couples used to loudly kiss each other while they sat there as we were all trying to eat lunch. So they're going, nom, 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 nom.
Stop.
It's like on Love Island When they kiss on Love Island, and that's all you can hear is like...
Why do they not cut the mics and make them laugh? Why do they not do that? You know, when you were talking about earlier on, it was like, well, back in the good old Virgin Media days, that what it was, just people lobbing the gob left, right and centre here. Is that it? Speculate about that now. It'll be fun. Let's see, Ron, I find it very annoying in work when people come in when they are sick with a cold. One person I work with used to do it. They made no effort to stay out of anyone's way. They sat right next to me, coughing all over the place. You know that?
I think that's probably changed since COVID, though.
It has, hasn't it?
I think that, like, you wouldn't do that now. You certainly wouldn't. But I do remember that I used to come in here and I'd be coughing a lung up. And I'd still be here. And
then he'd start lobbing the gob at everybody.
Then I'd start lobbing the gob after I've coughed the lung up.
We were a small hospital. That's all it was. Was that what it was? Back in the good old days of TV3.
That was another ick that people had. There was people going, it's not the same as it used to be. It was better in the good old days.
Where is that, Nick? He's
been saying it to the two of us all day.
Brian and Elaine say it all the time.
Really?
They say it all. And I'm just like, yeah, well, it must be nice. Yeah, great.
We love having you.
In fairness, I never say that. I never say that.
You do give us nice goss from the old days,
though. The goss is great.
Goss is different.
And we're just being told we immediately have to stop from our producer, who remembers the good old days. Coming up next, we're going to meet one married couple exploring polyamory and the perks of being in a 1, 2, 3-way relationship. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM.
Staying with us now. They've been telling me the word trouble has been a phrase on everyone's lips for the past few months, especially on a Saturday.
You know, well, now you said that it has been, and you know that it has been. It's a new thing. It's come into our lexicon in a way it never has before. Psychotherapist Dil Vikramasinghe and Anne-Marie Toole are here to tell us about how life as a throuple has benefited their relationship. It is lovely to have you here, and thank you so much for coming in.
Sorry, we're just two today.
So it's just the two of you today. We know we're going to get to see you in a second.
We don't have a car that's big enough. We're looking for the 7-seater.
You got to get the proper people carrying.
As well.
But like, this is fascinating, and for people, you can understand that why people are curious.
I can.
So, how did life as a throuple begin? Is it polyamory?
Polyamory for us, and it's different for everybody. People will identify as they need to. For Dil and I, this really started about 13 years ago when we met. I had just come out at the age of 29, which was, in the grand scheme of things, quite late in my development. So when I met Dil, I understood I was meeting someone I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. But I also knew that essentially, should it remain just as that, it would preclude me from having other experiences and other relationships and connections that I knew would become very, very important to me at a certain stage. Dil and I talked about it throughout the 13 years. Dil knew it was an important part of my identity. And when the time was right...
Dil was hiding under the couch.
I was just about to say.
I was like, la, 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 no, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to talk about this.
Well, I think you're considerably more... Dil was very, very open and respectful of that discussion throughout the years. When the time was right for Dil and I, when the children were at a stage when I knew they were emotionally strong enough to be in a more expanded family situation, I brought it back to Dil and said, what do you think? And Dil, as usual, met me with open, stunning, beautiful, respectful expansiveness and said, hey, yeah, I think so.
Dil, before we get to, Anne-Marie, just speaking the way you have there, it's very I know a lot of couples who maybe after 10 years or 15 years together start exploring this. But for you to go into it from day one, knowing this is going to be me, so was that just always there? You always knew that just having one partner was never going to be enough for you?
I think this, for me, comes down to a very, very, very deep love of relationship and connection. It's what informed my direction in terms of my psychotherapeutic work. I've always adored relationship, and I've always known that just deeper, more spacious, different kind of connections and relationships than I saw around me growing up and in adult life. I always looked at them and said, okay, wow, they're beautiful. What's around me is beautiful. And I think I will need something different for me in my life. I always knew that, yeah.
Wow.
I knew that from even teenage years.
Right.
I think
before you came out?
Yeah, I think I always kind of knew yeah, even in friendships, even in everything, it was always a push for something, always just different, deeper, connective, always with real connective integrity at the core of it.
So, Diller, you like me, you know, you're in a relationship with one other person. You're like, Michael Fassbender, Charlize Theron, whatever. You're lovely, fancy you, but then you're back to your normal relationship. Like this suggestion from Anne-Marie. What's your reaction to it?
Well, like I always knew, because I was very conscious that she literally came out and then met me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, come on, the gold standard of lesbians, you know, so she really didn't have to go look elsewhere for a while. But I always felt it was unfair, because I came out when I was 16. You know, it's like you get to have all that kind of fun and excitement of dating, and I never got that, you know, and the timing, I was always in my mind going, that's, you know, it's sad that Anne-Marie didn't have the experiences that I had, you know. So I had no doubt that at some point in our relationship we were going to transition into this format. And for me personally, one of the reasons why this time in particular I was able to actually stay in the same room and have the conversation and not run out the door was because I suffered 2 huge losses the year previously. I lost my mother and my sister to suicide. So I lost these 2 incredibly deep connections. And when I reopened up the discussion, I thought, wow, maybe this is another way for me to invite more love and connection into my life, because friendships are wonderful, but they're not the same intensity and same intimacy that a sexual relationship would have, you know. So I think a lot of people who go into polyamory is a way to actually expand their family. And then for me personally, in my own family history, you know, I always say polyamory is the opposite of cheating. You know, usually when people are married for a while and have kids, you know, sometimes things happen. And this is a way of, like, I often say to people, think about it, you know, because sometimes, like, I love Anne-Marie. We work together. We have 2 amazing children together. We've built an amazing life together. And this is another way of preserving that life and adding to it and making our relationship even stronger. So it's something to think about.
And C is part of your life now and part of your relationship. How did you meet C? How did that come about?
When Dill and I opened the discussion, we did what can only be described. Before we kind of connected and opened out further, we did a truckload of emotional work together. There's one thing reopening this discussion. We had a lot of foundational work to do between us to ensure we were ready for this. When the time was right and we had done all of that, we essentially joined one of the dating apps, one of the lesbian dating apps.
Can I ask you, sorry, about how did you know it was right? How did you know it was the right time?
The time, I suppose Dill and I have always operated off self and in partnership, just a real connected internal sense of what's right for us. We were just very, very attuned to what felt right and what didn't.
So how does
this, from that?
So how does it work? You know, year in a committed 13 years together. You know, to bring someone else in, holy God! Like, you know, I arrived in here to Tommy and Alan. They've been working together for a year. You know what I mean? But it's like you're kind of creating a new relationship, a foundation, and how does that person fit into your lives? So how does it happen? Is there jealousy? Is there, do the 3 of you have to do everything together at all the same times? Is C involved with the kids? Like, what happens, Dill?
Now, there's one thing about C, I have to say, that there is also, I think, a universal alignment. There's just things happen that were meant to happen. Because I have known of C in the last number of years, because we work in the same field. If she's watching, hi C, how are you doing? I wish you were here.
You kind of knew her.
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of. Like, I met her twice. I met her a month before, and we kind of work in the same field, but never been in the room for longer than 10 minutes, you know. And so when we went on the app, she was the first profile that came up, and I was like, oh my God, it's C. And I was like, no, I won't like her because I think it wouldn't be fair, because I already knew her and Anne-Marie didn't. So didn't C then go like both of us, you know? So she made the first move. So, and because of, I think there was a certain familiarity. She's divorced 3 years. She has 2 young kids around the same age as well. We work in the same field. We have a lot of things in common. There was a certain trust from the onset that I think if it had been anybody else, it would have taken much longer. Great. But I think the connection was pretty much instantaneous. And there was this funny thing that Anne-Marie and I, walking towards the date, we were nervous. We were so anxious. Yeah. Like, how is this going to go? Oh, my God. You know? And I said to Anne-Marie, look, if things don't work out, just take your bangle out and hold it in your hand, and that'll be a signal for me to know that there's no chemistry. Leg it. Yeah. Because you couldn't get someone to give us a call and say, it's an emergency. You know? So then suddenly I would notice halfway through the date, this one was getting so animated that the bangle flew off her arm and fell onto the floor. And I'm like, oh my God, the bangle, the signal.
What does it mean? Are we leaving?
Yeah.
Finish up your drink.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
So I picked up the bangle, gave it to her, and then she was just talking, holding the bangle in her hand, and I was sweating bullets, you know. And I was like, Anne-Marie, are you all right? Are you all right?
And I was looking at Dill going, why is Dill being weird about this bangle? She's asking me twice, am I okay? I was just in the conversation, really, really enjoying it and having fun. And that was
Can I just ask you, I mean, just getting personal for a moment, because when I hear the word, when we said trouble yesterday, I'm still not quite sure. As you say, there's different people will have different ways of dealing with their situations.
Yeah, sure.
Sexually, are you the three of you in the relationship together, or one with one and then the other with C, or are the three of you in it together?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's no limits then.
No. Exactly.
So then,
okay.
So jealousy is not a factor in the relationship.
Oh, jealousy is a big.
It's a human emotion. Like there's nothing we can do.
Exactly, right? And when it arrives, because it will arrive, the best thing we can do is meet it with love, meet it with compassion, try and park the shame that normally arrives when we feel jealousy.
Has it arisen?
It has, absolutely has.
Oh, it had. So so that's the thing. So you're spending more time with C than me? Oh, no, I'm not. Or C's your favourite now. Like, is this the type of conversations that are happening?
I can speak to that in the early stages of the relationship, because remember, in the early stages, the first number of months were about the development of the relationship for us as three. And in that time period, the three of us spent a lot of time together, consciously and deliberately, in order to create that solid foundation. Once that had happened, it made natural, organic sense that two of us would want to go and do something different one day. One has interest in one area. Hey, you want to come? After that foundational period, it doesn't quite make sense for organic relationship that everybody would need
to be there all the time.
Then it's becoming contrived, and that's on all levels. That's on the emotional, the conversational, the sexual. That's a really important part of this. And then the jealousy is part of that developmental. For me, arrived at that point. And when it happened, I met it and went, okay, what's this about? Because jealousy is usually about unmet need. And the beautiful thing about it was I was with two partners who invited me to talk about it and met me with absolute empathy and love.
And then
that's
what
the piece with jealousy.
What happens then is a compersion. Compersion is a word that we use in the polyamory community, which is your partner, your happiness at your partner deriving happiness through another partner, you know? So it's the opposite of jealousy. And nothing gives me more pleasure than seeing Anne-Marie happy and joyous because of C.
And do all the children know each other? You were saying that C has her children, your children?
They love each other. They get on like a house on fire.
They bonded really naturally. Which made sense. It made sense to me because of the character structure of C.
It's so beautiful to see the preservation of a relationship, a 13-year relationship with children, and the fact that you look so happy and that you're letting people hear about your experience without judgment taken on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being so open. And Dill, very sorry for your loss.
Thank
for
you.
everything
You're
that
very
went through. We're so sorry. Anne-Marie, Dill, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, the streets have been scrubbed.
Oh, down at their hands and knees. Hands and knees, they're down.
And security have scoped out the place, and now the locals in Carlingford are counting down to Joe Biden's visit.
You've got such an issue with the There's no one on the streets. Derek is there to capture the buzz in the village. Joe is arriving about 3 p.m. Derek, how are you getting on?
Yes, team, it's the build-up to Biden here in Carlingford in County Louth. There is great excitement in this gem of a town, I have to say. Donna McKevitt from the Tea Rooms is with us.
How are you, Derek?
Are you excited?
We are so excited in Carlingford. We can't wait.
And you've got
us here at the Tea Rooms. We are delighted.
We're delighted. And you were up early. You have the hair done. You have the makeup done. You have the lashes on.
I have. It's been a hard trek.
It's been a struggle, but a good one.
Our flags arrived in the middle of the night, early morning.
Yes. Now I believe the bunting came quite early on this morning.
Very early in the early hours.
But you got it ready. Now tell us about the build-up.
The build-up has been fantastic. The children's all out in the streets. The excitement around. We've been baking our cakes. We've been getting our apple tart ready. We're just so excited. We can't wait. We hope that he will come to sit here.
Yes. Now, can we just say, this is the real Queen of Carlingford, right? This is Mammy. She's got her sparkly Swarovski top on her.
Oh,
she's ready for Biden.
She's shining bright today.
She is shining bright. What you said to me earlier on is this is the wee town with the big welcome.
So we're the wee town and we have a big welcome for Joe Biden today.
Now, I know Marie, our baker here behind us, was very, very busy. Tell us about the spread you have ready for him.
We have it all. We have our lemon meringue pie, we have our cupcakes. She's been up all night with her Stars and Stripes cake. We have all displayed, the kettle's on the boil. We are ready.
You are ready. Now, fingers crossed, because I know you met him a couple of years ago, because he was here back in 2016.
We met him as vice president.
Yes.
We met him as vice. So we do hope to meet him as the president.
And you did get to shake his hand at the time,
We shook
I
his
believe.
hand, yeah. And the hand's ready, the cream's on. We're ready for it.
And hopefully, because I know he's doing a little bit of a walk about the town a little bit later on. He's due in around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes, that's expected, yeah. Yeah.
So are you hoping he's going to arrive?
We are so hoping with all our hearts that we're going to get Joe Biden in Ruby Allen.
Will you get a wee selfie with him?
I think I will. I think I'll jump in there.
You will. You can post it on your socials. Anyway, we're going to pop over here to Yvonne Keenan. And Keenan, Yvonne, tell us about the relationship here, the Biden relationship with Carlingford.
So Joe Biden's ancestors come from Whitestown, so he's related to some of the Whites in Whitestown. His great-great-grandfather was Owen Finnegan, and his great-great-grandmother was Jean Carney. So his ancestors are related to the Carneys, the rugby players.
Yes, yeah. Rob Carney.
Yeah.
And so he goes back on both sides. We're talking 5 generations.
Yeah, and his great-great-grandfather would have sailed from. He left Whitestown in 1849, and he sailed from Warren Point. Greenore wasn't there at the moment, and they had passenger ships in Warren Point. And then his great-great-grandmother followed the following year with his great-grandfather and some of his siblings.
Now, we got our pause on the itinerary. I believe he's going to be paying a visit here, not only to the town itself, he's going to be doing a little bit of a walkabout. He's heading down to Carlingford Castle, is that correct?
Yeah, we're assuming he's going to Carlingford Castle. It's still it's the security's there and everything, so we're hoping we're going to get the opportunity to show him Carlingford Castle.
And then he's going to head out the road towards Kilwirl, and Kilwirl Cemetery, very important to the family too.
Yeah, Kilwirl is where his family grave is, so he's been there before and he's laid flowers on the grave, so we're assuming he's going to do the same thing this time because he's very sentimental about all those connections.
How big a moment is this for Carlingford? Because it's a gem of a town, as I mentioned, but it's a great wee spot as well, isn't it?
It's a great spot and it's beautiful. I mean, Carlingford sells itself, but the fact that the President of America is going to be here, it puts us on a world stage. So people who've never known where Carlingford is going to find out today where Carlingford is.
And it already is a gorgeous spot to visit anyway, and it's always busy, isn't it?
I mean, we have the mountains, we have the loch, we have the historic buildings, the Cooley Peninsula is beautiful, we have a little village next door, Omeath, we have a railway village down the road, Greenore, and then we have the beautiful beaches in Cooley, and we have a beautiful forest park in Ravensdale. So we have.
Here, she's really selling Carlingford. We're going to move up here.
Oh, well, that's what we're hoping.
And I have to say, the place is spick and span as well. Everything is spotless.
Yeah, everybody does an amazing job. The Carlingford Tidy Towns are always out. They've got all the beautiful flowers. They're responsible for those. The Heritage Trust look after all the buildings, and the traders are proud of their businesses, and they have all their flags up and everything. So yeah, Carlingford's a beautiful place to live, and everybody's really proud to be.
So there we have it, guys. Well, are we excited, lads? We are very, very excited. And before we let you go back to studio, this is a frame here with the American flag in it. 13 American presidents have actually signed this flag. And fingers crossed, if Joe Biden comes in today, there is space right up here on the flag for his signature. So there we have it, guys. We need Joe. Joe for the show. Back to you in studio. Come on, Joe Biden.
He doesn't do it now. Joe.
For the show. Where did they get the flag with all the 13 presidents?
Someone went out there and got presidents to sign it.
But why is it in the coffee shop?
I don't. Here we go. Derek, come here.
Derek, come back. How have they got it in the coffee shop? Let us know.
The coffee shop has it. Hopefully he'll sign it. Now, Bella, you see what Carlingford are doing. Spick and span by the time you get to
Scrubbing the floors.
That's it.
Farmley, they'll be all out in Farmley and Orson.
Okay, we can't go through all the hotels you might visit in Ireland, okay? We've got to move on.
Coming up, it's time for me to put my throwing technique to the test, as I'll be throwing a few axes in a few minutes. Look at that. Oh, she's dropped one. There we go. Come on, keep going. Yay!
Welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, last year, Ciaran McGowan was crowned world champion at the World Axe Throwing Championships in Canada, and we got to speak to you after you had just won, because we were like, what? Sorry, what's going on now? How did you get into axe throwing?
I first got back into axe throwing in 2018. We were down at, I was down in IEDT, and a girl that had jumped onto the course to give an extra hand was like, oh, I'm going axe throwing tonight. And I was like, you're going where? She's like, yeah, no, I'm going axe throwing tonight. And I was like, can anybody do this? And she was like, yeah, it's ladies' night. That was it.
It's ladies' night.
It's ladies' night.
So you go from, you end up going, throw a few axes one night with the gals.
Yeah.
How did you get seriously into it?
So at the time, the ladies' night was because they were doing a promotional couple events due to the Irish Open that they were hosting that year.
Yeah.
So a couple of months after my first trip down to the barn, they actually hosted the Irish Open, and the guys were so supportive, and they were like, you're a natural, you're really good, you should just enter into the competition. So I actually then was kind of like, do you know what? Go on so. And then after the competition, I was kind of like, this is who I am. This is my identity now.
So I'm an axe thrower now.
I'm an axe thrower
This
now.
is what's happening, because you end up at the World Championships in Canada, and we got to speak to you over Zoom after you had won the World Championships. Like, there were people there who've been doing it an awful lot longer than you.
Yeah.
And to become world champion, like, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Like, we're the little country that could. I didn't, whatever about doing well in the rugby, I didn't expect us to be a world championship at axe throwing.
Yeah, no, it was really random, but like the axe throwing community are so tight and so wonderful, and they really encourage you. And whenever you go to competitions and stuff like that, they're kind of other members are watching you, and they're kind of like, oh, if you fix your foot, you fix that. So everybody is constantly encouraging each other. So there's a competitiveness there, but like the support is just unimaginable.
And how big is it as a sport?
So I think for Canada, I think there was about over 1,000 spectators at one stage.
Yeah.
And there was around 80 men, 40 women, and then I think about 10 to 12 juniors. So obviously that's like a much bigger...
Juniors, lads, the juniors. Janie Mack. But you kind of think of it, it's like, is it a bunch of Vikings? Do you know, is that where is it prospered?
So it would be very popular in Canada anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logging sports, log rolling, the axe racing and stuff like that. So it would have been very popular from there. Scandinavian countries as well would have been very popular. That's where these axes are from. They're both Scandinavian.
Now, this is the World Championship.
Yes.
The world winning axe.
Yes.
How far did you throw this?
20 feet.
20 feet?
Yeah.
That is kind of amazing. Throw a whole Loki there. Different axes to what? Alan, I can see you in the camera and what you're doing, by the way. I know what you're doing. I can see you. You've got a little axe.
I'm only a little one, you've the big one.
You're a little axe.
Yeah, I have a little axe here. We're here with Benny. Good morning to you, Benny.
Good morning.
So tell us about the Axe Club.
Indeed, yeah. It was founded by two bushcraft instructors about 2010. I think they kicked it off. Farmers market.
What's bushcraft?
So bushcraft is about instruction out in, essentially, the bush.
Right.
You're able to just go out into the woods with little more than a knife in your pocket and then end up with a shelter after a little bit of experience will help you along the way.
And so they set up here in Dublin.
Indeed, they have a spot in Dublin city centre, about 5 minutes walk from Connolly, and then they have a wonderful spot out in Glendalough that if you're looking for a day trip and an activity to do out near the Wicklow spots that are wonderful for hiking, you can go double bit axe throwing like Keola's phenomenal axes there.
But I mean, so axe throwing, these are for parties and people go along and people even going on their first date?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You see all the red flags, and we are cheaper than the cinema.
Why, how much is it for, how long do you get a session?
Indeed, so for an hour on a weekend day, we can go in there with anything around 6 people, and it's €25 per person, and it's a great bit of crack with friends or first date, as you mentioned.
So I'd say maybe workplaces would get workers to go along as a motivation day or get the stress out. And is it actually you would get the stress out?
Absolutely, yeah. And the team building side of it is phenomenal, because once you know who is good at throwing axes in the team as such, you definitely start linking up.
And tell us about this then. This is your mobile axe throwing.
First in Ireland, so between the two 2 spots that were set up by our founders. This is the only one that's on wheels. So we can go anywhere, and we'll hopefully be visiting festivals, providing entertainment at weddings while people wait for the groom and the bride in order to finish their photos.
It's very unusual, like, you know, at your wedding reception.
Why
You're
not?
Like, why not,
Yeah,
indeed?
that's it.
And axclub.ie is where people can find out more
Correct.
about you.
Yeah, hit
Okay,
us
you're
up
going
on
to show
Instagram.
me how to
Certainly.
try and do this now. So what do we do?
So we're going to stand with our feet shoulder apart. So we're in a good firm stance.
Yeah.
You're going to hold the axe. I think you've been happy throwing with one hand.
Yeah.
So you're going to hold the axe with your right hand, and you're going to step forward with your left leg.
So
and
just-
the faster you step forward, the more power it gets. So
All right,
nice,
so when you
gentle
go
throw.
and then... Oh, look at
Wonderful.
that! Did you
Look at
catch that? Did
Glorious.
you catch that?
Let's
Okay.
do it again.
Let's do it. Yeah, that was a fluke, was it? Let's try and get a bullseye.
Oh,
okay.
Move a shade forward.
Oh, shade forward,
The
okay.
physics of this is elegant as hell, so we'll get into it. Oh,
nearly got there. Let me give it another go. So you're going to have, this will go anywhere around the country.
Certainly.
And people can take part in it.
Absolutely, yeah. We're really looking forward to the variety of events that are going to book us, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
And there is, like, as we were saying, there's competitions. There are competitions here in Ireland.
Indeed, yeah. So the Irish Open will be on the 5th of May. And there we are.
Okay.
So you're in the bullseye
So the
region.
5th of May. And how many will be taking part?
That I am not sure.
Oh, look
of.
at that, nearly
Look
a
at that.
bullseye. Are you getting that, Anthony? Are you getting that? Nearly a bullseye there.
Well, hopefully we'll have an awful lot more contestants coming forward. It's being hosted by the Wicklow Axe Throwers, so it's another group of people.
The
and there's-
Wicklow Axe Throwers.
So as phenomenal as that name sounds, it's
Look
a really...
at that, I got a
Oh, look at
bullseye!
that.
I got it. Here, look, come in, look at that. Zoom in, Anthony, zoom in. I want people to see that. An absolute bullseye axe throwing here.
That's why we do it, because it's phenomenally
There
rewarding.
we go. I'm not even going to try anymore because I'm not going to fail after that. I got a bullseye. Benny, thank you so much. So, axeclub.ie, people want to know
Indeed.
more about that.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Alan.
so much. That was great fun. Back into studio.
First of all, Tommy's going to be raging that he wasn't here for that. And is Zoom in, Anthony, the
Zoom
new...
in, Anthony!
Is this the new 10 siblings? Like, is that what we just saw?
Is that just what happened?
Zoom in, Anthony.
That
Look
was
at that.
brilliant.
He is going to come in here, he'll record it on his phone and he'll send it to Tommy. I know that he's going to do that
We
in
need
his
to
break.
just screen record that and just put that on TikTok, please. I'm obsessed.
Zoom in, Anthony.
Zoom in, Anthony. Well,
Love it.
the one and only Sharon Core coming up tomorrow. She is in and she talks new solo music, living in Spain, and her upcoming Dublin show.
Brian Lloyd will be reviewing the latest Netflix Obsession. It's called Obsession, which stars Love, Hate and Peaky Blinders actors Charlie Murphy. Zoom in, Anthony. Zoom in.
Zoom in.
Oh, he's zooming out. He's zooming. Oh, Stephen, you're zooming out. I'll see you tomorrow from 7. Bye.